Is there a delay in the Big Ten media contract? It's not finalized yet. Are they pushing it back again? And if they are, why is that? Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner, episode number 12 with your host, Greg Pflugar. Today we're going to talk about, finally, have an episode talking about Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Notre Dame. Back in July, late July, I put out a couple tweets about BTM, that's our source, short for Big Ten Man, who's broken a lot of stories throughout the years, and one of them being that USC called the Big Ten, and we're going to be talking about that in a later episode. First, there's going to be a major article coming out on that story in a major publication, so we have to wait on that, but we will get to that story. But in relation to all that, BTM, we put out an excerpt in late July. Let me get to it right now. July 29th, BTM, August 15th to October 15th. This is your window of action. Maximum leverage for Notre Dame. New media contract can be and will be adjusted. Oregon, Washington, and Stanford efforts in reaching out towards Big Ten since UCLA and USC announcements will turn into formal talks. This is coming from our source, BTM. Now, when expansion happens, when realignment happens in college sports among the conferences, it always starts with the school calling the conference first. The conference does not reach out to the school. As reported by us on March 31st and ongoing days leading up to June 30th, USC called the Big Ten and they called them alone. We further learned after the official announcement that USC and UCLA is joining the Big Ten, we learned that UCLA called the Big Ten initially alone. So, of course, we know the story. Fox Sports loved it. Big Ten presidents loved it. Warren, thank goodness, loved the addition of UCLA. Many of us think it's a great deal all around. So it happened. Oregon, Washington, Stanford did not place those calls to Big Ten. Nothing started. No formal talks. And of course, the Big Ten was busy. They're busy onboarding USC and UCLA right now, and that is a long process. So rolling a rock up a big mountain. It's not easy. You can ask any commissioner and athletic director about that. Read their stories about it. It's a huge task. Expansion is a huge task logistically for any conference, especially the Big Ten. Now that the Big Ten is a national conference. First one going from all the way from Los Angeles to New Jersey. Okay, so this tweet that I put out, basically, we explained this before, maximum leverage for Notre Dame. This is where Notre Dame can extract the most leverage in figuring out if they were to become a Big Ten member, that they could, in essence, write some of their own stories. In fact, they could have a big voice in who their permanent rivals would be, or what possible pod they would play in, or they would make sure they wouldn't play on Friday night games at home. Things of that nature. There are things that you can push when you're a big time program like Notre Dame. Okay? And that's the truth with inside the Big Ten itself right now. You do not see the Ohio State Buckeyes playing home games on Friday night. You do see other schools doing that. That's just the way it is. Okay? I know I get a lot of heat from Big Ten fans saying that we can't bend over backwards for Notre Dame. You do to a certain extent. Now, we've had reports from SBJ, and you should take them very seriously, that Notre Dame is leaning towards staying independent in football. $60 million a year from NBC might be enough. Okay, we're going to concentrate on the Oregon, Washington, and Stanford pieces in this episode. The the fact is, it's hard to believe that the Big Ten, as it goes out to a 20 school conference, that they would remain just having two universities on the West Coast. That's just isn't going to happen. And I think most of you are now finally convinced of this. We heard Swarbrick, Notre Dame's athletic director, talk about the difficulties of being with the ACC because their Olympic teams, the travel that they have to do. Going from Tallahassee, it's hard on the Olympic sponsored sports teams, right? We can all understand that. It's best to have regionalized permanent rivals, divisions, pods, however you want to call it, regionalized schools playing against each other more often when it comes to these sports that you play more than once a week, and playing and way more games and events than 12 football games a year, right? Like baseball and basketball, you're playing 30 plus games. You want them more regionalized, so you cut down on the travel for the student athletes. USC, UCLA alone on the West Coast in California, all that travel, it's just not going to happen, guys and gals. It's just not going to happen. And here's the piece that I've been teasing for a long time. It's the Stanford piece. I put out a tweet a couple weeks ago saying that if I was in the bed, if there was an option in the sports book in Vegas saying Stanford will be in the Big Ten before the 2024 football season, that I'd go on that betting window, hit have the machine blur out all those tickets, and the machine would run out of paper. And the reason I said that on the tweet is because Stanford, we have a nugget of information that the Big Ten wants at least a third California team for scheduling. But get this, it wasn't for USC and UCLA. Obviously, that would benefit USC and UCLA greatly. In Olympic sports, all those, Stanford, they sponsored 36 sports, 35 sports. They're in the 30s. Huge bandwidth of sponsored sports at Stanford. Of course, that would help USC, UCLA. But the nugget of information wasn't about how it would benefit USC and UCLA. The nugget of information was about how it would benefit the other Big Ten schools. They want to play football in California. Big Ten schools want to play football in California. If you have 3 California schools, then you can be certain at least once out of every 2 years you're going to be playing at home against a California school or on the road and play in California. It will help recruiting. It helps all the administrators of all these universities in the Big Ten rub elbows with UCLA, USC, Stanford. So that Stanford piece, that negative information we got, it reminds me of other nuggets of information we've got over the years. That's why I say Stanford, man. Can't imagine them not being a Big Ten school in the near future. Okay? So let's set aside the Stanford piece for a moment. And let's go to Oregon and Washington. Oregon and Washington, Notre Dame. Let me see if I can get back to what I wanted to show you here. Notre Dame leaning independence, staying independent football, past that 2024 season, not declaring for the Big Ten before August 15th, 2023. That complicates Oregon and Washington's getting into the Big Ten. However, I'm going to show you a tweet right here. This is from today, John Wilner. Source: the only conference that's truly aligned right now is the SEC. Hotline aside, that's his hotline website, newspaper, newsletter. The longer the Big Ten goes without finalizing the media contract, the more I wonder if a faction of the leadership is pushing to add teams right now, even if Fox is tapped out. That's true. That is absolutely true. And I responded, that is the perception of many in the Big Ten. August 15th to October 15th is the hot window. Kevin Warren said in the media days that he's going to be bold, innovative, and when it comes to expansion, it's all about timing. And then he made quite a few references to what is best for the student athletes. Or what is not best for the student athletes at USC and UCLA is to be on an island on the West Coast all alone. We can all agree to that. But many of you are saying, well, Greg, this is a business. This is a business. If you bring in Washington and Oregon, will they bring in enough value for the Big Ten universities to agree with this expansion? And I would just say back to you, is it good business to leave USC and UCLA alone on an island? The problem with super conferences is to keep it from fracturing, to keep it from splitting apart. Managing a super conference is a difficult task. And to keep USC and UCLA happy, they're going to need West Coast partners. And the value that Washington and Oregon brings in, it may fall short. But I believe that the Big Ten there is definitely people pushing the Big Ten to expand with Oregon and Washington, and definitely with Stanford. Will it happen inside this window of August 15th, October 15th? We know that's a hot window. We were told those specific dates in July. I don't even really think it matters in regards to if it happens after this initial Big Ten contract is finalized and agreed upon or afterwards. If you remember, the SEC added on Oklahoma and Texas after they signed that deal with SEC. The SEC, Oklahoma and Texas joined the SEC after the SEC signed the deal with ESPN. Could be the same thing here. In fact, that's what we thought about USC. We thought the addition of USC would happen after the initial Big Ten contract was signed. The Big Ten doesn't always get what they want. Again, that is something I've said in the past, and I get heat from Big Ten fans. The Big Ten does not always get what they want. If they did always get what they wanted, Oklahoma and Texas would be in the Big Ten. If Oklahoma and Texas would have called Warren instead of Sankey, Texas and Oklahoma would be in the Big Ten. The Big Ten would absolutely said yes to both of them. They would have said yes to Oklahoma. I'm not going to get into it on this episode, but they would have said yes to both. But they don't always get what they want. Many in the Big Ten presidents definitely want Stanford. The scheduling aspect of a third California, many in the Big Ten want Stanford. Oregon and Washington being a huge research university, Washington. And Oregon with that huge brand. They're a brand multiplier. When they play somebody, You can, especially with teams in the Big Ten West, as we describe it now, they would multiply the brands of Illinois, Purdue, Minnesota, go down the list, Northwestern. Big brand in Oregon. Many in the Big Ten want Stanford, Oregon, and Washington. And I know this doesn't surprise many of you, but I just wanted to put out a video today because I haven't been talking about it. I've been going through all these predictions, all this content, the Notre Dame aspect. Big Ten, did they miss their target on Notre Dame again? Quite possibly. It sure sounds like it if SBJ reporting is accurate, and I'm pretty sure they're the best. So that's what my thoughts are for today on this tweet from John Wilner. Hopefully we get that Big Ten contract coming out today, tomorrow, this week. But I can, if as the days roll on here, people are getting suspicious. That's natural. That something else is brewing. Again, I really don't think the timing of the announcement has a lot to do with the probability of Oregon, Washington, and Stanford coming to the Big Ten. I think it can happen after this initial deal is finally announced. It'd be easier if it was all done beforehand. But so I can understand John Wildner's suspicious. He's being suspicious about why hasn't the Big Ten deal been announced. I get the suspiciousness of all that. But so again, if you liked our content today, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. It's a growing channel. We appreciate all your support, and share the video. Share the video with your friends. And again, Oregon, Washington, Stanford. Look at that. You see that? You see that? Stanford, Oregon, Wisconsin, Washington, Ohio State, Minnesota, Notre Dame, Indiana, right in a row. So it's got to happen, right? It's got to happen. All right, having some fun here at the Peek Around the Corner channel. Until next time, from all of us at Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take care of each other. You have a good one. Thanks.